breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, it is Friday, December 5th, 2025. You're listening to The Daily Ledger, and I am your host, Dennis Sert. Great to be here with you today. Let's jump right into the financial news and headlines. The Dow Jones, we're in the green today. Dow Jones is up 0.34%. NASDAQ's up 0.18%. Let me adjust my light here. And then the S&P 500 is up 0.28%. Looking good. Yeah, so I wanted to discuss this story first. So Netflix to buy Warner Bros. An $83 billion deal to create a streaming giant. Yeah, so Netflix is buying Warner Bros. Basically. So this is big news. This was on the front page of the New York Times. There's a lot of hubbub around it. What this means for Netflix is that they're basically adding Game of Thrones. They're adding Harry Potter. They're adding sort of all the DC comics superheroes to their library. So it's a big value add. There's some chatter on X regarding sort of the decline of theaters, right? So here's someone who goes, I have zero faith in Netflix, just like I have zero faith in HBO making a faithful Harry Potter series adaptation. I have a bad feeling about this. Theaters are slowly going to die. And someone else is saying, buying up all the movie studios just to drag them under and convert to movie media and to streaming does sound like a very Netflix thing to do. Yeah, so there are a few people ragging on Netflix. I personally don't have that stance. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right? And the fact of the matter is, movie theaters are already dying, right? So if you look at this sort of line graph from the past 6 or so years, right, in terms of U.S. box office revenue, you know, the pre-pandemic peak in 2019 was almost $12 billion. You know, we had the COVID shutdown sort of minimum here at around 2 billion. And then in 2023 with the Barbenheimer summer, there's it seems like around $8.5 billion. And then in 2024, there were some strikes. There was sort of not a good selection of movies out. That was what, around 8.2. But the thing is, there was no change for 2025. 2025 is projected to end with exactly the same as last year in 2024 at around 8.2 billion. So according to this, it's definitely stagnating, but just from the chatter that's going on right now, I mean, movie theaters are definitely dying. You look at Marvel, they haven't been really putting out anything worth watching recently, ever since Avengers Endgame, right? And not to get into that, but I feel like these people here discussing this are sort of beyond or behind the curve. So, and I thought something else that was interesting and to discuss here was so Paramount was also vying for that Warner Brothers deal. And yeah, and they lost. But what happened was they're kind of acting like sore losers in that they sent Warner Brothers a letter saying basically saying how unfair the process was. They said the bidding was tilted. They said all this stuff. Um, and it's kind of funny because in the actual letter, which I think I have up here. Let me see if I can get the letter up. Okay, I thought I thought I had. Oh, I have it up right here. So in the letter itself, right, which is here. Um, it's actually kind of funny. I read through it and I thought this portion, these two portions were interesting. So it has become increasingly clear through media reporting and otherwise that Warner Brothers appears to have abandoned the semblance of um and reality of a fair transaction process, thereby abdicating its duties to stockholders and embarked on a myopic process with a predetermined outcome that favors a single bidder. We specifically request and expect this letter will be shared and discussed with the full board of directors of Warner Brothers. And then they go on to say here, and this is the last thing I'm going to reference in this letter, we remain confident that the Paramount offer would provide the maximum value for Warner Brothers stockholders and look forward to the opportunity to continue to engage with you productively in this process. And this is after sort of just like going popping off on them in this letter. And my take on this is this, like, Paramount, like you failed. It's over. I mean, yeah, I mean, you got rejected, but don't pout over it. I mean, look, like my stance is you have to be able to leave at the drop of a hat because that's the chivalrous thing to do. I mean, you don't go begging and whining and acting like a little bitch because you didn't get the deal, because you didn't win. You lost. Like, go away. Right? Um so yeah, so that's sort of my rant on Paramount just acting like sore losers. Um let's move on to the other story that I wanted to talk about today, which is Meta said it has struck several commercial AI data agreements with news publishers. Um, so basically, they've done AI licensing deals with CNN, Fox News, and USA Today. Others like Le Monde. Um, so I thought this was interesting because Meta has. I think Meta is doing a good job here. So they're doing two things, right? So one, if we remember in February 2024, they basically killed the Facebook News tab, and that kind of caused all these major um like news publication companies to just hemorrhage viewers. And it was really, really bad for them. And in this sort of article, um, Meta is saying like, oh, well, there weren't that many people sort of looking at Facebook News anyway, and we want to sort of focus on short form video. So that's why we're getting rid of this. Um, and they said basically, oh, the number of people using Facebook News in Australia and the US has dropped by over 80%. Yeah, I mean, that definitely took a bite, though, at the same time, out of basically all of the major players in the space. Um, I think I have the exact numbers. Basically, BuzzFeed, I mean, they were already doing really bad. They had to lay off 16% of their staff in 2024, and they blamed this Meta pivot because of it. Vice Media had a 60% drop in viewership. But they had already filed for bankruptcy in 2023, but just decimated their traffic. Business Insider, 50% drop. CNN, 55% drop. New York Times, 45% drop, right? Drop. So, anyways, you can kind of see, how bad that was a few years ago. But it appears that in this move, Meta is sort of, um, well, they're sort of being friendly again with these news companies, right? And at a time where AI and um, news companies are kind of at odds with each other, right? Because you kind of look at what else is going on um, with other AI companies and other news companies, and you can kind of see that it's truly a dog eat dog world in this sort of AI news space. And if you're not careful, you can be chewed up and spit out. Just like how this morning we saw the New York Times sues AI startup Perplexity over use of copyrighted work. Right. So it goes into here. Apparently, this was just released this morning. Um, and we already know that the New York Times has also sued OpenAI over similar claims, alleged claims. They've sued Microsoft separately from OpenAI because Microsoft apparently didn't do the correct royalties or whatever when displaying New York Times articles on the Bing search engine. So yeah, so I mean, this space and this time is definitely like fraught with lawsuits and everything. So these AI companies have to be very, very careful. Um, so honestly, good on Meta. So I mean, it's both reconciliation after this sort of um, Facebook News tab removal, but it's also a way to, you know, sort of not get into trouble, just like OpenAI is, just like Microsoft is, just like Perplexity is, right? So good on them. They're doing a good job. I tip the cap. Okay, let's pivot into the sponsor of the show, Byte AI Market Analysis. Byte AI is a financial co-pilot that I happen to use every single morning when trading stocks. Basically, it's a tool that analyzes the technical indicators like the RSI curve, Bollinger Bands, and MACD/signal curve, as well as new sentiment for every stock in your portfolio. Of course, neither Byte AI nor I are financial advisors, and past success does not guarantee future results. So let's take a look at some of these guys. Meta is underbought today, RSI at 43. Um, it's near the lower Bollinger Band, and MACD is close to the signal line with a slight bullish tilt. Okay. Insider sale by Meta's CLO, Jennifer Newstead, which is routine and not inherently negative. EU regulatory scrutiny continues to pose an overhang. Positive catalysts include WhatsApp revenue potential and favorable earnings commentary. Nice. Okay. Why is Microsoft overbought? Microsoft is showing a crowded, overextended setup. RSI around 67.8. Price trading near the upper Bollinger Band with a narrow bandwidth, and MACD close to the signal line. While the news sentiment remains bullish on the earnings, AI cloud momentum, and institutional support, the near-term price action exhibits mean reversion risk. Okay. Nice. All right, those are all of our non-neutrals. I think we're gonna end it here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to download Byte AI. When you go through the web app, you can use the code podcast20 for a 20% discount off the first month. I'm actually going to change the billing system right now, the business model. I'm going to make it more usage based. I don't like the flat fee. But anyways, so podcast 20, make sure to use that. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend here. And I hope you make lots of money today in the stock market. Alrighty, signing off. Peace.